everybody, and welcome back to Vividly Dark, a podcast where we talk about all things creepy, geeky, and everything in between. Today, with me, as always, is my wonderful and beautiful co-host,
Zoe!
And I'm Patrick.
I get too excited for my one word.
Yeah, that's really all you say. The rest is just reaction. But today, we are going to be talking about two very, I don't want to say important. They're not necessarily important. I would say famous people of the times of the Wild West.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I know anyone from the Wild West, really.
Oh. You don't know?
I mean, I probably do if you mention some, but...
Wyatt Earp.
Nope.
Doc Holliday.
I've heard of that one.
He's the one who, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tombstone. It's got Val Kilmer. And...
Don't know.
Anyway, that's a great movie. I love it. Tell all those Kurds I'm coming. So yeah, today we're going to be doing that. That's what we're talking about today. I don't know. They're all quite... This is a very crazy story for me. I think it has everything that you could possibly imagine. And it has tragedy. It has a bad upbringing. It has guns and shooting and escape from the law.
Everything and anything you get in Wild West, I guess.
Exactly. Anything you've ever seen in a Western, it's in here. So, with that, our disclaimer today is that we will be talking about instances of murder.
When don't we?
Yeah. Well, we don't always. Anyway, but still. Also, for this, the childhood of our subjects is... Well, it's really... From what I've wrote, it's not that bad. But their actual childhood is fucking awful.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went through some shit. And I say childhood. Even when they're 18, 19, they were still going through a lot. And I know that's technically an adult, but they're kids.
Still young, aren't they?
Yeah, still very young. But anyways, are we ready to get into it,
I'm ready.
Alright. The American frontier. A vast endless stretch of land that goes for miles. It's made up of scorched earth and untamed wilderness. The land stretched out like something ancient.
Oh, the accent.
Raw. Unfinished. What?
You've got a cat there, haven't you?
Of course I do. Seas of gold grass bent beneath restless winds, while jagged mountain ranges tore at the horizon like the spine of some sleeping giant.
You're having way too much fun with this.
Yes, I am. By day...
I'm not listening to anything you're saying, I'm just listening to the voice.
We gotta have fun with it, because it's about to get dark.
Okay.
By day, the frontier burned beneath the brutal sun that turned wagon trails into rivers of heat. Travelers moved like drifting shadows across the plains, chasing rumors of gold, land, and fortune. Or escape. Some came looking for opportunity, while others... Knock it off.
Oh, sorry.
Some came looking for opportunity, while others wanted nothing more but to disappear. Towns rose suddenly out of nowhere like small islands of civilization stranded in an ocean of vastness. What is so fucking funny?
It's just so over the top.
It has to be. Crooked wooden buildings, muddy streets, church bells swallowed by wind, saloon pianos fighting against shouting voices and clinking whiskey glasses. But at night, lantern lights spilled onto the roads in soft amber pools, while darkness gathered just beyond the last building, like a living thing. And out there...
Oh my god.
Past the fences, the frontier became something else entirely. Coyotes cried beneath the moonlight. Hoo! Campfires flickered like canyon walls.
For people who can see what's happening, it's very descriptive. There's lots of action.
Storms rolled across the plains with a violence that made men
How'd
feel...
the storm go?
Microscopic.
I want you to show me with your hands how.
Every shadow looked armed. Every stranger carried a story.
I feel like we're getting a bit too over the top
Every
now.
silence felt loaded.
You just seem angry.
This was a land where law I'm still gonna keep going. I don't care. I'm having fun.
You do you, babe. You do you.
I'm having fun. Leave me alone. Yeah. This was a land where law traveled slowly, if it came at all. Where gunslingers, outlaws, and bounty hunters, and settlers, soldiers, and drifters all collided beneath the same endless sky. A place where fortunes appeared overnight and vanished just as quickly beneath dirt and blood. And maybe that's why the image still lingers in people's minds the way it does. Because it wasn't just a place. It was a pressure cooker for humanity itself. Ambition, desperation, violence, survival, freedom, all colliding at the edge of civilization.
Oh.
Out here, a man could reinvent himself or lose himself completely. And sometimes, those were the exact same thing. The American frontier was more than a vast stretch of land. It was the birthplace of legends. People like Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Billy the Kid, or even...
Heard of that one.
Yeah, Billy the Kid?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to write about him someday. Or even Annie Oakley or Calamity Jane.
And them ones.
Calamity Jane's a good one. I don't really know much about Annie Oakley.
Just heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard the name, but I don't know much about it anyway. For many, this was called home. For others, this place of legend was known as the Wild West. But our story actually begins in the Midwest, in the rolling green hills of Clay County, Missouri, or Little Dixie, as is known back then. You alright?
Yeah. Just a bit scared. I don't know where you're going next.
You gotta keep them on your toes, baby.
Yeah.
In a modest, isolated 3-room log cabin situated on a 100-acre homestead, which still exists today, a small family was being established. A man by the name of Robert S. James and his wife Zerelda Cole James. If you already know where this is going, hang tight. For the rest,
is it weird
don't.
that in my mind I'm thinking now, how is it still standing all this time later?
You know what?
Because in the Wild West, or this was the Midwest, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
You, like, there's a lot of sandstorms and
There's
shit,
a lot of
isn't there?
sandstorms out there. A lot of tornadoes.
Whoa, still. The fact that a building's still standing all this time later.
Oh, they got lucky.
Pretty impressive.
They probably don't live within the, what you would call Tornado Alley. I'm
yeah,
not
but
exactly
still,
sure.
like, a lot of their houses and stuff were just made of wood.
Yeah.
It's still pretty impressive.
Well, it's like the Roman roads and bridges here.
Still open, still there.
It is actually still open. You can go visit it. It is a natural, or not a natural, it is a historical landmark of types. A man by the name of Robert S. James and his wife Zerelda Cole James were birthing their first son on a cold January night in 1843. In 1845, they had another son, Robert, who would sadly pass away just 2 days after turning a month old from SIDS.
This is such a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not
That's
really.
almost 200 years ago.
Yeah, that's not that long ago, though, is it?
It's pretty long.
I mean, it is long, but I mean, there's
for people who are still, like, talked about today.
Oh, yeah, I think there's
that's
like
crazy.
100-year-olds here. For them, that's like yesterday.
But another 100 years before they were born.
Yeah, still. They were a lot closer to it than we were. 2 years later, on August 5th, 1847, Zerelda gave birth to the pair's third son, and finally, in 1849, the two welcomed their first daughter, Susan. Robert was a commercial hemp and tobacco farmer, and was also a well-known and respected Baptist minister. So, in other words, he blazed it, and he praised it. Shortly after their daughter was born, Robert would pack up and leave his family to preach to the miners of the gold rush in California. But in August of 1850, Robert contracted cholera and died that same month on the 18th.
Ooh.
He left his family not only with grief of his death, but also with a tremendous amount of debt.
Oh, yeah,
One hell of a way to go out.
That's horrible, isn't it?
It is. Because back in these days, they wouldn't have even known he was dead for a while until, like, probably some collectors came to their house and were like, hey.
Yeah, it's a pretty good chance, isn't there?
Zerelda would sell off many of his possessions, including the slaves he owned, to pay off what she could. On September 25th, 1852, Zerelda would marry a man by the name of Benjamin Sims, who was a wealthy neighboring farmer. The marriage proved unhappy, primarily because Sims disliked Zerelda's two sons, to whom he was reportedly cruel and abusive towards.
Don't marry someone if you ain't going to marry the children too. And I know that sounded weird, but that's the saying, I think.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Benjamin demanded the children be sent away. Zerelda refused and left Sims because of the abuse towards her boys. Good on her.
Just why didn't he just go find some woman who had no children?
That's just what it was like back in the day. Maybe, I don't know.
He just thought that she'd ship her children off.
Yeah.
Mental.
I didn't put it down on this, but I'll say it anyway. As a cruel, not even cruel, I guess the bastard deserved it, really. He ended up dying like 2 months after their separation because he got thrown off his horse and his horse, like, stepped on his head.
Yeah, his horse had probably had enough of his shit too.
Probably.
He's like, you said what?
Son of a bitch. It's said that Zerelda was quite fond of moving around, if you catch my drift. But this is not uncommon during the times. Remember that during these times, women
jumped on any dick they saw.
Wow.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes. Not what it is. Not what it is. Basically, I don't know, women back then felt like that men were more protective. They were the providers of women, so it was very common for women to lose somebody and move on fairly quick.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah. Which she did. 3 exact years later, on September 25th, 1855, when Zerelda would marry her third husband, a doctor by the name of Reuben Samuel. Together, the pair would have 4 more children: Sarah, John, Fanny, and Archie. Yep. Samuel was 27 years old when he married the 30-year-old Zerelda. He left behind the medical profession upon the pair marrying, and moved onto their farm, began growing tobacco, and acquired a total of 7 slaves by 1860.
With the slaves.
Not that it's for nothing. I know it's bad to still have slaves, but apparently I read that their slaves were treated quite nicely. Not that it matters.
How nice of them.
Not that it matters.
Why can't they just call him like a farmhand? Like, we hired farmhands.
Because farmhands are paid.
Well, weren't they paid?
Hell no. They would have probably lived in some shitty barn thing on the land, on the ground or something.
I mean, if it was like, you still wouldn't call them a slave, but if it was like you were helping out some homeless people by giving them a roof if they came and did some work, that's a bit different.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Was it that kind of situation, or did they literally go and like buy them?
They most likely went and bought them, or they already had them. Or
it's just crazy, isn't it, that stuff like that even happens in this world.
It happened,
It still happens.
Well, yeah.
It's hidden, but it definitely still happens.
And one of these days, it's children more than anything.
And women.
Yes.
Well, I don't even think it's just that. I think a lot of people, I reckon there's probably a lot of men as well.
Well, likely. You just don't hear about it much.
People are evil, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. He took on Zerelda's 3 children, and in return the 3 looked up towards Reuben as a true stepfather, even to her 2 boys, who he would defend and step up for when needed, especially in their older years.
At least they finally got a nice one in the end.
Yeah.
Well, nice-ish. He did still have slaves.
Well, yeah. But, again, common.
Yeah.
In the times. Granted, hate it. Very common in the times. But, who are these 2 young mystery sons of Zerelda? Well, If you haven't figured it out by now, many
happening
believe
again.
they were born with guns in their hands. But the reality is far more tragic. Before they wanted posters and train robberies, before their names became stories whispered through western towns and printed on newspapers.
Angry.
Maybe I am. They were boys raised in Missouri as farmhands, horse riders, and sons. They were shaped by the open fields they called home, through hard labor, and by a country tearing itself apart. You see, these boys weren't born evil. Sometimes men are shaped into something harder by war and loss. Before they were truly grown, the two had already ridden through gun smoke and blood. They witnessed the brutality of man in ways no child should. Many called them outlaws, others heroes. Who they are would vary depending upon who you asked. They were either a symbol of resistance or cold-blooded killers. But to themselves, they were brothers. Brothers that would ride to hell and back 100 times over for one another. They are the great American outlaws!
Fuck, you're shaking the table.
The leaders of their own gang, Frank and Jesse James.
You're going to give yourself an aneurysm.
I will. It's Frank and Jesse James, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! I've been wanting to talk about these two for a long time.
They won't have heard anything you just said other than growling. So I apologise for people listening. Your poor ears.
I had fun, and that's all that matters for Patrick.
As long as you're having fun, baby. That's all that matters.
You know what? That was just the vibe that was getting put down as I was writing it. So I was like, I gotta do it.
Gotta do it. How you feel?
Yep.
Alright.
I feel like there was more than just growling. Anyways, Jesse and Frank didn't...
It's shaking.
A lot of shaking. Jesse and Frank didn't grow up in some lawless wasteland of Missouri, even though these days perhaps that describes most of Missouri anyway. But before the Midwest became a battleground for a divided country, it was by all means a good place. The household was a family place, a working farm with rolling hills, livestock, and above all, structure and routine, a textbook childhood for pretty much everyone of the time. But it was also during these times that the Midwest became a very dangerous place to be, a literal battleground of the United States. Did the UK have a civil war?
I think so.
I read somewhere that y'all did. Missouri occupied a volatile middle ground, being neither fully northern nor southern, but a blend of both. Hence the name Midwest, because it's kind of in the middle of everything.
But little to the west.
A little to the west. Yes. This duality transformed the region into a perilous landscape. The nation was fracturing, pulled apart by growing political divide that pitted the Northern Union against the Southern Confederacy. In this environment, long-standing bonds of friendship and family were severed as neighbors transformed into bitter rivals. The struggle between the Yankees, by the way, when people call me a Yankee here, I'm not a Yankee. They're the North. I'm from the South. Just call me Texan. And the Rebels.
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that Yanks were just what you call anyone who's American.
No. So I just got back from Wales, and I had two friends here from home. And somebody, I can't remember where we were, was like, oh, yeah, Yank. And my friend was like, I'm not a Yank. He's like, don't call me a Yank. I'm not a Yank. I'm from Texas.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just think that we call everybody that's American Yanks.
Yeah, I used to... he wasn't offended by it, nor do I ever get offended by it.
Where does it actually come from, then?
Yankees.
Yeah, but what are Yankees, then?
They're the northern part of the United States that... you'll see.
Okay.
The struggle between the Yankees and the Rebels was no longer just a distant conflict. It was an intimate warfare that began to tear at the very fabric of society. maybe I didn't put it in here. Basically, the northern part of the United States, so it really had to do with politics. Abraham Lincoln wanted to free the slaves, good thing, but the southern people didn't. So the government was like, well, this is how it's going to be. And then the southern people were like, no, it ain't. So they formed their own army. And it started this massive civil war. And it was all because of slavery. Because some people wanted to abolish it.
I guess if you're going to have a war over something, that's a pretty good thing to have one over.
Yeah.
If you want to get it gone.
Very bad war. I think over 1 million people died.
I mean, they have them over the slightest things now.
A lot of, I would say it was almost close to 1 million or over 1 million people died in this war.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. And it wasn't a war like we see these days, where it's all distant. This was guerrilla warfare. They were up close, fighting each other. The Confederate assault on Fort Sumter in South Carolina commenced on April 12, 1861, marking the official beginning of the American Civil War. The conflict was no longer a threat. It was a reality. And at the age of 18, Frank James enlisted with the Confederacy. He was now Private Frank James of the Missouri National Guard.
So he worked for he was
part
of the South.
Yes. Their mom was very Southern.
Yeah.
She had very strong Southern ties and beliefs. He would partake in the siege of Lexington, Missouri on September 13th, 1861. During the siege, Frank became ill and was left behind by the Guard, resulting in his apprehension by Union soldiers. Frank was soon sent back to his home on parole, but, as the Times would show, promises were rarely kept. His return home was short-lived when local pro-Union militia placed him under arrest and forced him to swear allegiance to the Union, the Yankees.
Okay.
After the withdrawal of regular Confederate troops in the fall of 1861, a bitter guerrilla conflict soon began between bands of pro-Confederate irregulars, commonly known as bushwhackers, and the Union Home Guards. By early 1863, Frank, ignoring his parole and an oath of allegiance, had joined the guerrilla band of Fernando Scott, a former soldier. He soon switched to the more active command led by William Clark Quantrell, which these bands are their own sort of... They were still a part of the Confederate, but the Confederacy was like, y'all are too much for us, so you have to do your own thing.
So that's down south again.
Yeah.
That's where he's gone back to. That side.
And not actually physically moved south. He's just with the Southern people.
He's just fighting with them, yeah.
All of this takes place over, so you got Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of South Carolina, North Carolina. It's just a huge battleground.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because how many Englands would fit into that?
A few.
A lot.
Yeah. They would march hundreds of miles. Up mountains. Through forests, thick-ass forest.
It's just not built the same no more.
No, we are not. Then came the moment that doesn't just change a life, but redirects it. Union soldiers arrived for a raid on the family home. Union militiamen searching for Fernando Scott raided the Samuel farm and hung Dr. Reuben Samuel, though not fatally, and beat Zerelda mercifully. Oh. And on top of it all, they did this in front of Jesse and his siblings.
Oh, no. Was the other one there? No, because he was fighting.
Frank?
Yeah.
He was there. They were looking for him.
Oh, okay.
They drug him out of the house and beat him for breaking his parole. I want to say they almost beat him to death. By the time Jesse was in his mid-teens, the war wasn't something he had heard about. It was something he lived inside. Missouri had become one of the most brutal fronts of the American Civil War, characterized not by organized battles, but by chaotic guerrilla warfare.
That must have been even scarier, mustn't it? Because if there's like an army, you see the army coming, I suppose. You sort of know when it's happening.
They always, you would know when they're coming.
That kind of warfare, they could just creep up from you.
Yeah.
Creep up on you from anywhere.
Yeah, because they're in the regular non-guerrilla type battles. You would know where they were coming because you'd hear the because they were playing the drums and playing.
They like to scare people, didn't they?
Yeah,
to know
it was
that
all
they're coming.
intimidation technique. These were raiders and ambushers who struck fast and vanished. Frank was already riding with Quantrell's raiders, and for Jesse, the door was already open. Eventually, Jesse followed, going on to ride with men like Bloody Bill Anderson.
Bloody Bill.
Bloody Bill, bastard. This was the beginning of his transformation. He learned how to kill, how to disappear, and how to survive outside the law. There is a much lesser known side to both Frank and Jesse that people aren't aware of. These boys weren't just some random outlaws, robbers, killers, or even legends. Both of the James brothers attended school regularly, both were intelligent and literate, and both were respectful of their elders. We have seen this play out time after time with many murderers and criminals alike. A deeply influenced ideology doesn't just shape you, it makes you.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did the boys grow up in a slave-holding household and one of very far-right near-extremist beliefs, but the region they grew up in was soaked in resentment. So could their later actions in life have been more than just rebellion? Short answer, we don't really know.
But quite possibly.
Yes, quite possibly. Many have followed this path, and when we look at it, or when we look into it, into who they were, who their parents were, what the household was like, their siblings, their family outside of the immediate lot, and especially the trauma that both went through at very young ages, again, it paints a picture.
Uh-huh.
They both lost their biological father when they were very young. Frank was 5 and Jesse was 3. There was instability in their home life until Zerelda met Dr. Samuel, not to mention that partner in between was very abusive. Political tension, witnessing violence. I mean, this is literally outside their front door.
I mean, yeah, the man who's been keeping them safe for a lot of years at that point, they saw him get beat and bloody hung.
Yeah, until he passed out, I think, but he didn't die. A war literally in their
They've got
own
a lot
backyard.
to be angry about, haven't they?
Yes. These boys did not just turn bad overnight, but rather, when you look at it all, they were conditioned by chaos. Before either had ever pulled a trigger, the brothers James had already learned what it meant to lose, to hate, and to survive in a world where the line between right and wrong had already been burned away. During their times riding with the Confederate guerrilla groups, the two would learn key aspects that would later help them with their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Ambush tactics, horseback warfare, raids, and survival outside of conventional law. Now, outside of the guerrilla groups, life would change forever for both brothers, etching their names in history.
So is the war over at this point?
So this was a year after the war. February 13th, 1866, Clay County Savings Association, Liberty, Missouri. And I've been to Liberty. Very nice place.
I was going to say, I didn't think you've ever said anything nice about Missouri, but okay.
Although there is some debate between historians about this particular day, about the involvement of Jesse in particular. This event was the beginning of one of the most well-known and talked about crime sprees in Western history. It was around 2 p.m. The afternoon sun was high. 10 men, armed with shotguns, would enter the bank. They were tactical, quick, and controlled. There were no dramatic speeches or any sort of theatrical introductions. Employees of the Clay County Savings Association were threatened at gunpoint. Cash and securities were taken, and panic spread quickly through town. Reports vary on the exact amount stolen, but estimates often land around $60,000, an enormous amount in 1866.
Yeah, I bet it was.
So that is roughly $1.25 million in today's currency.
Yeah, I bet it is.
They were in and out within minutes. But as they rushed to leave town, a young college student by the name of George Waymore was standing in the street, likely slow to react to what he was witnessing or in shock. George was soon shot and killed during the gang's escape.
Oh, God.
The robbery now carried blood with it.
Was there any need?
Likely no.
They did quite a clean sweep and rob.
There were reports as well that I'd read that it could have been taken as George was actually trying to stop them, like in their way, so they shot him to get him out of the way. But from all accounts, people who knew him, like he just wasn't. He most likely would have just been scared, like in shock of like what's going on, and not even really.
Oh, that's worse though, isn't it?
Mm.
Poor kid.
Yeah. The gang would then make 5 more robberies across Missouri and Kentucky before their next notable one. More than $20,000 had now filled the pockets of Frank and Jesse plus crew. They had their own crew at this point. Well, they weren't officially the gang yet. December 7th, 1869, Daviess County Savings Association, Gallatin, Missouri. Also a beautiful place. You could say that the Liberty Bank robbery was the spark that started it all. But if you say that, then this robbery would be the explosion. This wasn't just another bank robbery. This was the moment that the names Frank and Jesse James thundered across newspapers and into American legend. It was winter. Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
I love that you've started using that phrase now. Been watching a lot of Game of Thrones.
Been watching
lately.
a lot of it. She's been trying to get me into it. It's a good show.
I feel like you're getting way more into it now. You started shouting at the telly every now and then.
Yeah, because, it's alright.
It's the best.
It was wintertime. The air was cold. The streets were muddy, and the small town was quiet, as usual. Gallatin was a modest small city with wooden storefronts, horse traffic, and local businesses clustered together around town square.
Cute.
Yeah, the perfect
I'd
image.
love to be somewhere like that now, apart from without all like the
Lawlessness.
Yeah.
The perfect image of a western small town. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. The I guess you would say the town center, what we would call like the town square, of where I'm from, looks very much like that. Now there's just a road going through it.
Oh, really?
I'll show you when I go back.
Can you get like a GoPro and just like have me on there and just be like, this is this,
I'll
this
just
is this?
call you and show you. Have a little drive around town. It was also the kind of place where strangers stood out. And just after noon, 2 riders entered the town. Jesse and Frank James, armed and on horseback, both calm and in no hurry.
They do seem quite calm and collected, these boys, don't they? Considering everything, you'd think they'd be really like riled up and like...
Well, this was the thing, like, imagine having seen what you saw, been through what you've been through. They both fought in the war. I know I didn't say that for Jesse, but he did. I mean, I touched on it, but he did fight. This is nothing.
And the kind of fighting they were doing.
Yeah, this is nothing. They both rode up to the small 1-story bank building. Inside the bank were only a cashier and the bank's owner, John W. Sheets. Alongside them was one patron, a lawyer by the name of William McDowell. Wasting no time and without introduction, it is believed that Jesse entered alone casually, not guns blazing or shouting, but rather he approached the counter and handed the owner a $100 bill, asking Sheets to make the change. This is the thing. In any of the westerns that you see depicting Jesse James, he's always busting in. Put your hands in the air.
Yeah.
This is a stick-up. That's not how it went.
That don't sound like it.
No. They were always so calm through this. Most of the time. We'll see. Sheets, not knowing they were about to be robbed, turned around and opened the safe to begin counting the money. Without warning, Jesse drew a revolver and fired, shooting Sheets twice in the back and through his chest and fatally through his head, killing him instantly.
What happened to being chill?
He is chill. He is probably very calm about that. Just boom, boom, boom.
Well, maybe, but also, why do you need to shoot someone?
Because for them, it's not about a spectacle. No, hand me the money or I'll shoot. No, it's boom, boom. Now you know. Pass the word. If you don't do what I tell you, you will fucking die. This is all really a scare tactic. And it's gonna work.
I just don't see how it'd work, because then everybody's spooked, didn't they, straight off?
When you see strangers walk in? That's fine. But you need to know that if you're going to draw a gun on Jesse and Frank, they are going to shoot you.
Yeah, but no one drew a gun on them.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. They're not hesitant. They're just going to do it. They're not going to say they'll do it. They will fucking do it. Strangely, it has been said that Jesse had actually believed that he was shooting someone else, a man by the name of Samuel P. Cox, a Union officer associated with the death of his former guerrilla leader, Bloody Bill Anderson.
Well, that makes sense, because he's not shot anyone just for the sake of it before.
But this is also the thing. This is all theory. We don't know.
Well, obviously
And
not,
I do
mate. It
feel...
happened nearly 200 years ago.
Well, yeah, but you gotta think as well, Jesse and Frank, especially when they create their gang, they don't fuck about. They go in there and they do tell people, hey... Well, actually, they hardly even tell people, but it's like known that they would walk in, and if you had a gun pointed at you from Jesse James, you were probably gonna die. But anyway.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. Whether this was a case of mistaken identity, revenge, or later justification for his actions, we will never know. But according to multiple accounts, Jesse believed he was avenging Anderson's death. As for me personally, I believe that this was a calculated event. Regardless of his past, Jesse chose to pull the trigger in order to set the tone for the robbery. No warning of give me the money or else. It was simply give me the money or die.
Yeah.
Like I said. As for the robbery itself, a life was taken for only a measly $600 to $900.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
I know. But the impact of this was massive. Both Jesse and Frank fled town immediately on their horses. Just as quickly, the town formed a posse. The James brothers reportedly escaped directly through pursuing riders and vanished into the Missouri countryside. And it was one of those Wild West film escapes where they're riding and they're shooting at each other. After Gallatin, Jesse and Frank would enter a sort of cool-off period, which is very common with serial criminals. It is also during this cool-off period that the boys expanded their circle of trust. 4 brothers, Cole, Jim, John, and Bob, younger, who were all also former Confederate guerrillas themselves, began to tag along with Frank and Jesse. The James Younger gang was officially formed. Now, even though I said this is a cool-off period, the boys and the younger brothers would hold up another 4 to 5 banks. Although this took place...
In their cooling period?
Yes. Exactly. Although this took place over the span of about 4 years. Or at least this is how many can be tied to the James brothers and the emerging James Younger gang. As most serial criminals do, after a brief cooling off period, there is something known as the escalation period. And by God, did they have one. And for the now 6-man gang, the escalation period was more than just a robbery. It was a full-on spectacle.
How much do they need?
It's never enough for a robbery. No. For a robber. Because it's more than just about the money as well. It's the thrill. July 21st, 1873. Adair, Iowa. By this time, the gang, like many other outlaws of the time, had only robbed banks, stagecoaches, and public events. The James Younger gang was about to go one step further. Railroads symbolized the changing of the American frontier. Expansion, industry, money, and power led to all towns that had a railway running through it. But the trains themselves carried something else. Payrolls, gold, valuables, and passengers with cash.
I've definitely seen some sort of Western movie
where
they've like hit a train.
That's based off of these guys. If it was moving train.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gang had reportedly learned that nearly $75,000 in gold from Cheyenne was moving east on the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. This amount would have been an absolute fortune. So the plans began. They would rob the train, and not that it mattered to them, that they would be the very first ever to rob a train in history if they were to pull it off. Not so much a train, a moving train. According to historians, Frank James and Cole Younger would travel to Omaha, Nebraska, in order to gather information about the train schedule and shipment timing. All the while, Jesse and the rest of the gang, who now included 2 more individuals named Clell Miller and Bill Chadwell, camped in the hills near Adair waiting for word. On the night of the 21st, the train traveled through the isolated rolling land just west of Adair. The advantage of this was that there were no towns nearby, no quick response from the law, and it was practically pitch black. But how do you stop a train? Simple answer, you don't.
I think the film that I saw, I swear they like dug down and blew it up.
Historical accounts suggest that Jesse and the others loosened rails, removed spikes, and manipulated part of the track line, all to force the locomotive off the rails. Late into the evening, the Rock Island train approached its speed, and suddenly, the locomotive struck the damaged rails, causing the engine to derail violently. Cars slammed into each other, wood splintered, and steam exploded into the night air. Passengers were also thrown violently through the cars. The train's engineer, John Rafferty, was badly injured and later died from the crash. The train's fireman, the guy who shovels coal, Dennis Foley, would die instantly. The passengers, many severely injured, were still very dazed from the crash. When out of the darkness came armed riders who entered the train and began robbing the passengers at gunpoint. So imagine that. You just got thrown around this fucking
crashed,
train. Yeah.
And then you've also got
these fucking bandits coming in with
scary
masks
people coming
all
up
over
to
their
you,
faces.
screaming at you for money.
Not even screaming at you, pointing a fucking 6-shooter right in your face.
Mm.
God. I'd be pissed.
And, like, they probably just would never have seen stuff like that before.
I know. And they probably got back to their destination. They were like, fuck that train.
Never going on a train again.
I am writing a scathing review on Yelp. That's what
You would never get on a train again, would you? I wouldn't.
Hell no.
God,
Not even for the fear of crashing.
I won't get on one for the fear of it. What if it breaks down?
No, I wouldn't even get on it for the fear of crashing. I'd be like, fuck, I don't want to get robbed again. If you're going to rob me here, where you don't have to throw me around a train car.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Get me at one of the stops.
Oh, shit. The gang then focused their attention to the gold shipment. But there was an issue. That huge gold shipment had been delayed. Rather than a fortune, the gang made it out roughly with $2,000 to $3,000 from a safe, plus the valuables.
That is what you get.
And cash from the passengers. Yeah, it is what
they got. I feel like they got a lot of karma throughout all of this.
Oh yeah, they never really got what they wanted. But this is probably also something that keeps egging them on. Like, oh, we didn't get it. Gotta try again. Gotta go bigger.
You'd give up though, wouldn't you? That's a lot of bloody hassle.
Hell no. You don't give up. Not in this lifestyle. Regardless of the haul.
Just go get a job.
Well, that's the most obvious thing. It reminds me of like one of these shorts that I always see. It's like a guy walks into a gun. A guy walks into a gun. A guy walks into a bank. And he holds the lady up at gunpoint, and she's like, I don't have any money. He's like, what? You think I want money? I want a job, bitch.
It's a bit like that these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and his name tag is armed gunman. And he keeps the ski mask on and everything the whole time. It's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Regardless of the haul from the robbery, this event changed everything for the gang and put them in a category of their own. Gold or no gold, the James Younger crew, despite a technicality, had successfully pulled off the first known moving train robbery in American West.
Oh, good for them, but what a waste of time that was.
I know.
I bet they were well gutted after that, because imagine how much thought and planning went into that.
The one time they decided to truly plan it out.
It went really well.
Yeah.
But then there was nothing there at the end of it.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. And because Frank and the other younger brother wasn't there, they were probably trying to ride to catch the train and be like, no, don't do it, don't. Ah, shit. January 31st, 1874, Gads Hill, Missouri. This train robbery was less of a spectacle and more calm, but it's what happened during this robbery that changed public outlook on the gang itself. Gads Hill was a small town that, unlike many open western towns, was built in the dense woods of Missouri. Before the train arrived, the gang changed tactics. Rather than make a mess again, they would be more methodical. The outlaws entered the local general store and took townspeople hostage. Like, they didn't just take townspeople, they took everyone of this town hostage.
The whole town?
Yes.
What the hell?
Yeah. But why? The James Younger gang held up the general store to secure provisions, seized the owner's cash, and, most importantly, capture and detain the townspeople. This allowed the gang to hold the village in a secure, silent trap until the afternoon passenger train arrived without the authorities being tipped off.
Oh, so this time they waited at the station.
Yeah.
Seems more sensible.
Unlike all the other stations that are just open planned, essentially, at the towns.
Yeah.
This is actually kind of like in the woods, so they can be way more covert.
Yeah.
By rounding up everyone, I mean everyone, in the small settlement, and holding them hostage, the gang ensured that no one could escape and send a telegraph or sound the alarm. The gang had actually arrived hours early, taking control of the town rather than hiding deep in the woods. As they waited for the train to arrive, they forced the townspeople to help them by building a bonfire on the tracks. The train was running late, but almost an hour though. But when it finally arrived, it was forced to stop near the small town, thus allowing the gang to enter the train after emerging from the tree line. The gang took complete control over the situation. They were calm, tactical, and selective.
What does that mean, selective?
This time, the men would demand all the male passengers to hold out their hands. Like, palms up. Not hands in the air, palms up. Allowing the men to examine them. If a man's hands were rough and calloused, suggesting physical labor, they would often leave them alone. Not only this, but this time the gang spared women and children. But wealthier passengers, they were fair game. Historically, there is some debate about exactly how much of this behavior was genuine versus later myth-making.
It's a bit late to get a conscience about it now, isn't it, after everything they've done? All those banks that they've robbed, who do they think they're robbing from? It's not just the rich.
Yeah.
It's people who, that's all they had in the world.
Yeah. But a lot of the places they did hit had more, I don't know, maybe to them they were actually robbing a bank rather than a person.
Yeah,
so
but
they didn't think about that, I don't know. Historically, there is some debate about exactly how much of this behavior was genuine versus later myth-making. Especially because newspapers and sympathetic editors love to portray Jesse as a kind of frontier Robin Hood. The gang robbed
I don't think it's very well thought through.
No. The gang robbed passengers, the train safe, and took valuables and cash on board via the passengers. This time, they would make out with close to $12,000.
Bloody hell. It's a bit better.
Yeah, but here's the most fascinating part of the whole ordeal. According to accounts from the period, the gang actually sent information about the robbery to newspapers themselves to shape the narrative, and it worked. But
I hate it when people do that, when like murderers and horrible people who have done bad things write in to the papers.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well,
they're just gloating and showing off.
They were gloating, but this time it really worked in their favor. But let's not forget that under all of this was a gang that took civilians, a whole town of them, hostage. Held passengers at gunpoint and robbed them. These men are still very much criminals.
Just because they're trying to put a nice spin on it now doesn't take away what they've actually done.
Yeah. September 7th, 1876, the First National Bank of Northfield, Minnesota. Before we get into this one, by this time it is believed the gang is tied to 10 to 12 major bank robberies, 4 train robberies, and various stagecoach thefts,
Bloody
payroll
hell.
robberies, and many smaller crimes. Though exact totals vary due to, you guessed it, poor records keeping. Regardless, by 1876,
It hasn't got any better in 200 years.
No, it hasn't. They were arguably the most infamous outlaw organization in America. And around 2 p.m. again, the gang, now including another member, Charlie Pitts, rode confidently into the town up to the bank. 3 members, Cole Younger, Frank James, and Bob Younger, according to most accounts, entered the bank while the remaining stood outside the bank for crowd control and to be lookouts. Working the bank that day were 3 people: cashier Joseph Lee Haywood, assistant cashier Alonzo Bunker, and bookkeeper Frank Wilcox. Just as fast as the gang begins the robbery, things just as quickly begin to turn south. Joseph Lee Haywood refused to open the safe, even under threat and staring down guns.
Go on, Joseph.
Yeah. The robbers began to beat him and threatened him repeatedly, but still Joseph refused. This delay now becomes fatal, but not for the bank workers, but for the gang.
Good old Joseph.
Yeah. The town of Northfield is now aware of what's going on.
Do you know what? Sorry, but do you know what? That probably really did take some doing as well, because he would have heard stories about these people. Like, most people would just see it happen and shit their pants.
I would say he got very lucky.
Yeah.
That it wasn't Jesse that walked in there.
Yeah.
Because if it were Jesse, he most likely would have been like, oh, well, fuck you. You, come here. Yeah. The town of Northfield is now aware of what's going on at the bank. And without hesitation, the townspeople armed up with rifles. And from cover, from like inside homes and buildings and stuff, began unleashing absolute hell on the men outside the bank.
So they've probably planned this. They've heard about all these stories of these people going around, and they're like, right, if it ever happens, this is what we do.
But it also helps that there's time being bought for them to react to it.
Yeah.
Chaos erupts. Gunfire echoes through the streets. Smoke fills the air. Horses panic, and civilians duck for cover behind barrels and storefronts. Several members of the James Younger gang are hit immediately. Among them, Bill Chadwell and Clell Miller would be hit and killed, both dropping to the dirt streets near their horses. Inside the bank, things become even more dark. Realizing time has run out, one of the gang members shoots Joseph Haywood in the back of the head, killing him instantly. With the bank safe still closed, the gang made their getaway under heavy gunfire from the townspeople.
At least he did what he wanted. He didn't let them in.
Yeah.
That was his goal.
Yeah. He's protecting the town and the money. This wasn't like previous robberies. The boys were now marked as mortals. The illusion of invincibility was shattered.
Good.
Yeah. Now, the gang had posses formed looking for them. Newspapers exploded with coverage, and citizens across the region began to join the hunt. For nearly 2 weeks, the surviving gang members fled through forests, swamps, and farmland, wounded, exhausted, and desperate. Cole Younger was severely wounded. He had been shot multiple times in the hip, shoulder, and ankle. James Younger had been shot in the jaw, and Bob Younger was also shot multiple times.
Bloody hell.
They were a fucking mess.
Yeah. That's what you get.
Yep. On September 21st, near Medalia, Minnesota, the remaining gang members were cornered by townsfolk, farmers, and the law. And when the posse closed in, gunfire erupted. During the firefight, Charlie Pitts, fighting with everything he had left in him, trying to protect one of the injured younger brothers, was shot multiple times and was simultaneously killed. After Pitts fell, the near mortally injured younger brothers realized they couldn't escape. Wounded and surrounded, the 3 youngers would surrender. This was not fully the end of the younger brothers. The 3 would be transferred under heavy guard, face trial in Minnesota, plead guilty to escape execution, and each be given life imprisonment with hard labor. The younger brothers would serve out their sentences at Stillwater Prison in Minnesota. Cole would eventually be paroled in 1901 after serving 25 years. Surprisingly, he later lectured, publicly speaking against crime, and even appeared in Wild West shows briefly.
Wow.
Jim would struggle deeply with everything. Unable to fully adapt to life after prison, he would commit suicide in 1902. Bob Younger never fully recovered from prison conditions as well as tuberculosis and would die in prison in 1889. But what of Jesse and Frank? After Northfield, everything changed. The James Younger gang was shattered, and for the first time in years, Jesse and Frank were mostly alone. But even between themselves, their paths began to split. Northfield broke more than the gang. It seems to have broken Jesse as well. Jesse began trusting very few people. He also began using aliases. He moved from place to place and rebuilt only small outlaw crews. He lived under names like Thomas Howard, a seemingly respectful man who rented homes, had a wife and children, and lived a seemingly normal life, or attempted to anyway. So yeah, he eventually got married and had kids, and bought a bunch of homes and rented them out.
But still had his own little gangs.
Yep, and was still robbing. Jesse didn't give up on crime. In 1879, he and his small gang would successfully rob another train in Glendale, Missouri. Jesse began rolling with a gang made up of Robert Ford, Charles Ford, Dick Little, and his cousin Wood Hite. But this crew lacked what the James Younger gang had: trust, loyalty, and knowing the others had your back. In 1881 to 1882, authorities intensified pressure on the capture of Jesse. Rewards increased, and several gang associates turned informant. Robert Ford began negotiating with the Missouri governor Thomas T. Crittenden. And on April 3rd, 1882, in St. Joseph, Missouri, an exhausted Jesse James would walk into his rented home, take off his gun belt, grab an invaluable picture or painting, this is debated, and sit down to dust it off. Meanwhile, Robert Ford would sneak into the home behind Jesse and fire one round into the back of Jesse's head.
What?
The great American outlaw was dead.
Just like that.
Just like that.
In his own home.
In his own home.
Huh.
As for Frank James...
That's a shit ending.
I know. Gonna get crazier. As for Frank James, he would eventually realize that his outlaw era was over. And in 1882, just a few short months after his brother's death, Frank would voluntarily surrender to the Missouri governor.
What, after all that time?
Mm-hmm. The moment of his surrender was in itself a spectacle worthy of its own movie. Frank would arrive by train to turn himself in. Thousands reportedly gathered to witness. At his trial, Frank James was accused and tried for robbery, murder, and train robbery. He was acquitted of all charges.
What?
Yes. There are several reasons as to why. Weak evidence, public sympathy, lingering...
Weak evidence?
Yeah.
Everybody knows who he is.
I know. Public sympathy. Probably felt bad for his whole family. I don't know.
For
Lingering
God's sake.
Confederate support networks, and perhaps even the myth surrounding the James brothers. Unlike many outlaws of the time, Frank James walked free.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
It gets better. Later in life,
No.
Frank worked as a theater ticket taker, a shoe salesman, racetrack employee,
Well, do
farm
you know
worker.
what? At least he just went and got a job.
At least he went and got a fucking job.
That's what I was saying to do before, Frank.
And an occasional tour guide on his family's farm. So he bought his family's farm and set it up as a museum.
With all the money he stole, because they won't have taken it back, because he didn't obviously do it.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
A man once hunted across the frontier, later giving tours about his own legend.
For God's sake, it's so ridiculous.
Frank James would die in 1915 at the age of 72.
So even though he's technically, like, confessing to all these people about his life,
Yeah.
no one cared.
Oh, past that time, it was whatever. He's not doing it anymore.
For goodness sake, that's so mad.
Yeah,
That's mad.
And he also died peacefully in his home as an old man.
Well, good for him.
One of the most fascinating contrasts in the entire story is that Jesse, he burned fast. He became the face, the myth, the outlaw America couldn't stop staring at and talking about, dying before his legend began to fade. Jesse James died before the frontier could forget him. But Frank James lived long enough to watch himself become a part of a world already disappearing. And it's with that we end on the legends of Frank and Jesse James. Sorry, I had to do it.
What shit ending?
I know. It's the craziest story because.
But also, Jesse only did it because he was basically following Frank.
But was he?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we don't really know the full story.
He only started getting into the war and fighting and stuff because his brother was in it.
That part he was forced into, really. It was at that time where he was fighting.
I just don't really get why Jesse was more famous than Frank.
Because he died. The way he was killed.
Because he died.
Because of the way it all ended for him. He was an outlaw, struck down by his own man. Like the legend of Jesse James. But yeah, Frank James is probably the biggest part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And the motherfucker got away with murder, literally.
Yeah, I don't think Jesse would have done any of it if Frank hadn't been as involved as he was.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
We don't know. There isn't much to say on any of the siblings as far as we know. None of them were involved. So, there's that. Yeah. If you have any stories, if you want to, you know what, let us know what you think of this story. You can leave us a comment below or go on any of our socials at Vividly Dark Pod on TikTok and Instagram. Let us know what you think. And if you aren't already doing so, go ahead and push that subscribe button and turn on the notification thingy so that you know when we post. Which, if you don't do, that's cool too, but do it anyway. We post every Friday. Or try to. We have missed a Friday because I was away in Wales, and I am about to go away to America, so if we miss another day...
We're not going to miss another day.
We're going to figure this out.
We will.
Yeah.
Get organised.
Yes. We have 3 days to do so. So, here we go. Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this story. Again, like and follow us on our socials at Vividly Dark Pod at TikTok and Instagram. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And if you have your own stories, because we still want to hear from you all about the freaky shit out there. Not your freaky shit. Like, that freaky shit. We want to know, like, freaky, scary shit, you know?
Scary experiences you've had would be awesome.
Yeah.
If you want to email them into us.
Yeah, and that is vividlydarkpod@gmail.com. Again! vividlydarkpod@gmail.com. We hope you enjoyed this, and we hope you enjoyed listening. We shall see you all later.
See